Hello, hello, and welcome in Stamperia and Lady Vagabond YouTube Hub. Together with my fellow artists, we prepared cool projects to inspire you in that new year to work with those specific products. I have made this steampunky book that could be a shiplock for Lady Vagabond to her airship. I love Lady Vagabond collection and I love Stamperia products, so I was stoked when I was asked to be part of it, and I was ready, thinking what I can do that would be a little bit different, and I thought about the book cutout. So first I glued all the pages together and I cut out frames from them. It's quite time-consuming project, but very, very, very much rewarding. The cover of my book I covered with a couple layers of two kinds of paints. One will be home decor soft paint and second one will be Allegro paint. They dry matte with the beautiful finish and my cover was really red. I wanted to use my very favorite paper from Lady Vagabond line, and you know that I love that line. I posted a couple days ago my year favorites, and a lot of those products that I'm using today was in that particular video slash live stream. To glue my rice paper, I would use mixed media glue from Stamperia. Very convenient product. It comes in the jar. You can just dip your brush with ease and spread it around, and it dries quite fast with the glossy finish, but it gives you really nice surface, especially if you want to use any of the distressing techniques. This video will be more like a process video when I will just tell you what I'm doing and you can see all my footage and all my struggle here. So this is my very favorite rice paper from this line. It have such a beautiful pattern that just fit any kind of vintagey, steampunky kind of female themed project with those purple flowers. I would just say that they are purple, and purple is the best color on the world. We all know that, huh? So it's just amazing. For the background, I decided to go with the one of the papers from the line, and you could see that I was rolling it through the foil. I was hoping that I will be able to just lift up the foil, but unfortunately, a piece of my paper stuck to the foil, but I will cover it later on, so it's not an issue. I went with cream paste through the stencil, and because it's a steampunky project and I knew that I would like to use a lot of gold here, so I picked the gold cream paste that will give you a really rich and nice effect. And now we will focus on the composition, and there will be a lot. So I used all kind of geary things that I had access to. A chipboard, and later on some molds will be in the action. To stick chipboards together, I'm using extra forte glue from Stamperia. It's a super, super cool product that will give you a nice hold and fast grip, and it's just so easy and nice to work with. I really adore that glue, together with mixed media glue. It depends what do you need, because this one have really precise applicator. To cover everything black, I used black Allegro paint, and those acrylic paints have such a nice and matte finish. And then, you know, I learned my lesson that they might not want to unstick from the piece of foil. So we switched for non-sticky matte, and because we moved to a mold prints, and I already painted mine black to shorten the process a little bit. I was inspired strongly by Lady Vagabond herself, and Belinda always make a lot of prep work before she will assemble her project. So I thought that, yeah, I will give it a try, and actually the techniques worked beautifully. So all the products that I'm using will be linked in the description box. I will put the product codes for you to be able to find them. I use mostly Lady Vagabond molds. They have all kind of steampunk gears and screw heads and propellers. Really, really amazing molds. I can't rave enough about them. Uh, Lovely, lovely elements, and they will satisfy all your steampunky needs. And I'm using resin with my molds to add a little bit of texture and rustiness to my project, because I was thinking that that could be a book that Lady Vagabond keeps on her shelf in her magical flying castle, and inside there is a mysterious mechanism that could do absolutely anything that you can imagine that it could do. So I use the mix of all molds, including those pipes. Pipes are amazing. You can build your own piping situation in your project, and you can make them longer or shorter. It's really dependingly on what you need. I used one of the loose frames just to roughly have an idea how big my composition can be. I played with the elements. I decided to stick some of them after I will paint them, just because I was scared that I will be not able to put whole composition together inside the book. And actually, I had to pull it apart and then put it back together. But at the end, I'm really pleased with my final outcome. So to paint my elements, I used Belinda's technique of adding, kind of randomly splotches of different rusty colors. I used a little bit of this gold cream paste and different colors of Allegra paints in the rusty colors, and I was just playing. When it was too dark, I would go lighter. If it was too light, I would go darker, and they mix beautifully. I didn't dry them in between, so the paint mix together and created really nice and natural look. For inside of my book, I wrapped around the edges my rice paper, and it's A3 size, so it's really, really decent size of the rice paper. It will be enough to cover quite a large project, as you can see, because my book is not small. The one thing that I can say about that book is that it's not a small project. I wanted inside to be pretty as well. I know that most of it will be covered, but still you can see a little bit. So I picked the paper from 12 by 12 collection with amazing print of different clocks. It's you can also fussy cut a single clocks from it, so it's very, very versatile. You can buy it in the pack, or you can get it as the individual piece. So I strongly recommend. I recommend to get whole pack, because you will fall in love with this collection and with those products. I guarantee I will not steer you wrong here. So to make inside more interesting, and because one sheet of paper wasn't enough, I decided to go with two separate pieces. Made sure that everything is stuck down nice, and that I have glue all over my papers, and I'm using Stamperia Extra Forte glue to stick the papers, because I wanted to dry a little bit faster. I also made a small decorative element on the inside part of the cover with some hinges that I cut out from the paper, and just glued them in. I just layered couple layers of the paper, so it will be a little bit dimensional. I also made a small fold inside of my book, because when you open it, you can actually see that part. I didn't stick the spine, so I will be able to open my book quite freely. I also added a little locket element on the front. I didn't want it to be two-dimensional because I'm actually planning to keep it on shelf because you will see later on that it have really nice decorative element that is one of the Lady Vagabond molds. It's quite a large element, I would say around 12 inches, and it just fits so nice on the spine of my book. To make my cover a little bit more interesting without adding any bulk, I decided to go with the clear crackle paste that I discovered thanks to Belinda, and we played with it in Stamperia Extravaganza Live, and then I actually fall in love with the effect. I had to clean out a little bit my stencil work, but it's perfectly possible. Actually, cream paste dries quite fast, so you don't have a lot of time to fix any boo-boos if they will happen. So we are moving to the adhering that long element that I was telling you about. I painted it together with my gears, so everything is nice and matchy. And I'm using here a Stamperia gloss gel, the same product that I used to adhere all the gears together. And I will also use it to assemble my composition inside of my frame. There was a lot of pages to that book. That's why I didn't even film the process of sticking them together because it will be very, very long and boring video. But basically, you just stick them down and then cut out the opening. Now, exciting part that is bending the mold. So here we have the locket, and I have my kitchen glue that that protects me from the heat because you have to really heat up the resin to bend it. And because I got a little cracks, so I decided to paint it in the cracks, and just to instead of using another element, just make this one work. Except of the paint, I was using also a little moonstones that will add a little bit of roughness and rusty like texture to my element. And yes, I know that right now they don't look extremely pretty, that they look like a hot, colorful mess, but bear with me. All pages I protected with a mixed media glue, a thin coat just in case that something will go wrong and I will get paint somewhere, so I will be able to wipe it off. The old paper of my book, oh my god, it just soaks in everything, the glue, the paint. So to avoid any major disasters happening, I just went with the protection, and I strongly recommend you to use either the primer or, in this case, mixed media glue will work also as primer. For my elements, I use the mix of gloss gel and hot glue. Hot glue will temporarily hold the elements in spot when we will add all the fancy mixed media goodies into them. And another bending part, I warmed up section by section the long element to make it fit with the curve with my book. It's just slightly curved, so it wasn't a struggle, though the element is quite thick. But if you patient, and if you hold it in place until it will cool down, it will just obey and match the shape of your surface. I went with a lot of hot glue here and there just to make sure that everything is holded in place before my gloss gel will dry, because when the gloss gel will dry, it will hold beautifully all the elements. And inside, because it will be vintage as well, I covered with mixed media glue. Again, I used it on whole project as the primer. I fixed all the white resin edges that you could see and all little boo-boos with leftover of my paint. And then when everything was already assembled, I moved on to play with my products. So all the shadows and vintage effects I applied with the brush, and it's Patina Umbra, my favorite vintage effect product ever. But I started with a little bit of the shine with the antiquing paste in the gold shade. But it's not like gold wax, it's at the same time shiny and matte. Quite hard to describe, but it looks so fabulous. So first I applied it with the really soft brush over my project, then went with Patina Umbra to add some shadows here and there with a little bit stiffer brush, and at the end I took a little bit of Sarantica in the gold color and went over my elements just to make them pop a little bit more. Unfortunately, Sarantica moment is not on the video, but trust me, you just dip your finger in the tiny jar and then go over some elements just to make them pop a little bit against this antiquing gold effect. It looks really awesome. It's the technique that I learned from Belinda, and I really like the final outcome. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed that video. I really enjoyed myself while doing that project, and definitely will revisit those techniques multiple times. Check out the video description to find all the videos made by super talented fellow artists for that particular hop. We have a sponsor, that is Stamperia, and they sponsor some prizes, so all the info will be under the video, and that's it from me today. I hope that you will have a nice and creative day, and see you at the next one. Bye!